There's a certificate for your internship. You can throw it away. I was just practicing printing it. I think you might have got an email.
I did.
So, and then I think I have at least one other internship thing to finish up. I think I'm behind with yours.
I need
Did you send me?
No, I have to do that.
What's up? I've been waiting for that. Did you send me yours already?
No, I still like to use it.
Okay, good. Man, I woke up this morning thinking, I'm so behind. Now I realize you're so behind. Okay. Did you give me yours yet, Emmy? Internship? Okay.
I have a question about
All right. Okay. All right.
it.
Give me your report and then I can award your badge for your 40 hours.
Did I turn mine in?
No, I don't think, I think yours is in the same folder as Krista's, Emmy's, and Katie's, which is the not quite done yet folder. Maybe you did, but I don't.
No, mine's completed. Like I have everything typed out.
Yeah,
You don't have it?
I don't think so. But, you know, I can blame a lot on being sick.
You want it in
I
your,
was
like,
sick.
you want to like email?
Yeah, email.
I can email it to you right now. If you don't have it.
Email it to me right now. That'd be great.
If I have it on my iPad.
All right. Okay, everybody.
Then you have to do like a.
Let's get started. We have this class period. I want to do two things. One, I'd like to talk real quick about the end of this book, because you guys all wrote up. The last chapter was like really easy. The was it Well-Founded Hope? So as we talk about this, I think you guys all had pretty. Couple of you still have to get your write-ups in, but it's probably, I mean, it's something that you can get done in a very short period of time. But there is this hope that just because as they track all these different companies and many of them end up in irrelevance or death, right? That's the last stage. Some do turn around. And there is this reasonable optimism for organizations that find themselves in decline, that if they can identify what's actually happening and they take appropriate steps, that there's a chance that they could pull out of the decline. And they give the example of Xerox, I believe, and some other organizations in there that have actually gone through that process and done it. That's happened, I mean, in the church world. Southern Baptist Convention did that back in the 80s and 90s. They were on serious decline. They changed leaders, they identified why they were declining, and you know, now it's church, and you know, the Lord has, you know, his plan for the gospel for the world. So it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison with Xerox, but they did make some changes and the decline stopped and actually they started growing again. So it is possible to recover even after there's this severe downturn. But I think that the critical element is there has to be a recognition of where you're really at. So in another class, I talk a little bit about the Stockdale paradox, which is, you know, facing the brutal reality of what's actually happening and then having a reasonable hope that you can get out of it, but not just having this Pollyanna optimism that everything's going to just work out all right. I think sometimes Christians are probably the worst with that because we just really believe God's going to always bail us out for stuff. And he does so many times in ways we don't deserve, but that shouldn't be our go-to, like fire insurance plan. We have a responsibility to be good stewards. So anyway, there was one really good quote. Since you guys are all still kind of half asleep, I won't make you comment unless you want to, but there was one very good quote in here. I think I highlighted it. Yeah, here you go. The signature of the truly great versus the merely successful is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to come back from setbacks, even cataclysmic catastrophes, stronger than before. Great nations can decline and recover. Great companies can fall and recover. Great social institutions can fall and recover. And great individuals can fall and recover. As long as you never get entirely knocked out of the game, there remains always hope. I think it's pretty good because you could interpret this whole book as like this big negative, especially if you've read, he's got like 4 books that are all really a series. The first one that kicked it off was Good to Great, which gave this optimism of like, hey, you know, if you do these things, you're going to have a successful organization. Well, then a number of the companies that he featured in that book were out of business by the time he wrote this book. So that's what really got them thinking, okay, maybe there's no long-term guarantee. And so, and then there's another book since then, I haven't read it yet. So, but this does give you like that little bit of like, okay, it's not guaranteed that you're going to disappear just because there's a decline either. So any comments on this chapter? Any thoughts on it?
It was interesting. One of the parts in there, he said that as a company who's successful, that the thing you should do is like get on your knees and pray for hard times, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because a lot of times in success, you can get complacent and kind of lose focus, but those hard times help realign your focus.
Yeah.
And keep you on the right path.
Yeah. And even Dr. Heron mentioned that in chapel yesterday, how he was talking to I worked for him when he talked to that Chinese pastor, and the Chinese pastor said, basically, you've been kind of cursed with success in America, whereas the Chinese church is growing and expanding because they were facing persecution. So it kind of helps you, ask yourself, so why am I even doing this? And I think that's what happens with a lot of businesses. They have to go through this gut check. That's why I think in the earlier stage where people start like looking for salvation, they start looking for someone to come in and, solve all the problems in grasping for salvation, that they do this instead of assessing where's the real problem. They instead are looking for who can get us out of this problem. They're not saying, how do we get into this problem? I think that's that might be the critical part. And you might, end up being part of an organization, a church, a camp, a school, a business that goes through this. And, as an outsider coming into it, you might have some pretty clear, vision of the things that are maybe leading this organization to decline. And maybe God puts you there so for just a time as that, so you can say something the right time, the right place. You got to be wise, you got to be respectful, you got to be patient with what you say and how you say it. But maybe God will place you somewhere so that, you can maybe help be part of the solution, I think. And it's fun when you do get to see that, when you get to see, something kind of refreshed and renewed. So that's what you always hope for, but it's not automatic. So any other thoughts on that? Okay. All right, great. Well, let's keep going here then. Let's go back and review real quick because this is going to be the heart of what we're going to do today. So when we look at our design thinking, yesterday I was meeting with someone and they're talking about they want to start a new ministry by the summer of 2022. And they have a plan for what they want that ministry to look like. And so I walked through this process with them. I never really used this in like counseling before, giving advice or whatever. But I was like, the what you want to do could change by then. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, the why you want to do it is he wants to start a Christian apologetics video ministry. Joel Willoughby, he's a Bible teacher over at Ankeny Christian. He's a seminary student here. Really great guy. I'd never heard his story before. I guess his wife passed away a couple of years ago and remarried. And it's just awesome testimony. But he's been doing some videos ever since COVID because he has to do Bible classes in Ankeny Christian. He's found that he really loves doing the videos, has a burden for apologetics. He's working on his D-Min through the seminary. And he's like, by the year 2022, summer 2022, I'm going to be making apologetics videos all the time. And after kind of hearing it out, I said, let me just walk you through what I think about the problem versus the solution. I said, if you're set on only doing apologetics videos by the summer of 2022, I said, you might find yourself doing something that looks quite different and being disappointed. I said, but if you go back to the challenge is, hey, I have a burden for teaching truth. I really enjoy doing it through video, and I'm hoping I can be a blessing to churches and pastors. And so if you kind of go back to the problem, I went through the whole fall in love with the problem, not the solution. The solution could change, and because you don't know the future, you should expect it to change. So, start coming up with a prototype of what you think it's going to be, but don't feel bad if that changes, through feedback and stuff. So it was neat. I never really used this in it wasn't really consulting, it was just like over coffee at Smoky Row, but I was able to walk through it with them. But we've started narrowing down the challenge. And today, I think we're going to be able to at least get to this where the challenge needs to be for today. And then we're trying to work on the learning and the idea stage, which is going to be today for sure. So let me bring this up. All your sticky notes, by the way, are super impressive to the ad council. Every time they come in here for a meeting, like, oh, that's really interesting. And I never have time to explain what it is, but they think it's cool. So we should stick more stuff to the walls just to get publicity. So we need to clearly define the challenge, and we're going to brainstorm some solutions today. So we've been kind of framing, reframing, talking about this, and I think we got to land the plane on that because we do need to kind of keep going with it. So for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to kind of bring that to the next step. Let's see what we had here. So we had these concepts that came up the other day. And we're going to touch on this a little more, but I'm not going to leave this up right now because the question was what might we, as a college increase value with community businesses, through work relationships. And we kind of talked about what that actually needs to look like and what we mean by all that language and everything like that. And we have all these different values that we think it's going to bring. So I think we're all agreed on those parts of it. So what I did is I kind of created a little blackboard here for our brainstorming. So brainstorming, first off, there always have to be ground rules anytime you have a brainstorming session. Our ground rules are going to be that everyone is going to give an idea. So everyone's going to, we'll have someone write it up here. And everyone's going to give at least one idea towards this. There's no judgments. So someone's idea could be, we need to get the Goodyear blimp to put Faith's name on the side and drop leaflets. You might snicker inside, but don't snicker out loud because you just never know where someone's idea could go or how it could help us. So you just say, hey, this is a blank board. No apologies. So when you give your idea, don't say, I know this is probably dumb, or like some people, they're like, this sounds just like someone else's, you don't have to say any of that. No disclaimers either. Before I say this, let me just say I had a really long night and I ate too many brownies and now I'm kind of like low and whatever. So you don't have to give any disclaimers. You don't have to give any apologies. A brainstorm is like, it could be something that is a total clunker, or it could be something that really, makes us think about something from a different angle. And so you have to be super open-minded during brainstorming. And it only takes one, person to kind of kill that vibe. And then now all of a sudden everyone's becoming very protective of their ideas. So we just all be very open with it. The goal of this brainstorm would be at the end, we could take it somehow, fuse some of the ideas together to come up with a prototype of what we could roll out. And what I mean is, before we go to the feedback stage, because of the way we're kind of ordering this and because of the structure of our class, we need to come up with, hey, what if we did this, this, and this? And then the feedback would be, we go to a bunch of people and say, what do you think? We're considering proposing the college to do this, this, and this. What are your ideas on that? So the prototype is, the 1, 2, 3 things that we're proposing to do. We get the feedback, we come back in here and we say, okay, what was the feedback? Everyone loved number 1 and 3, 2, no one liked that idea. So we redo the prototype. And so that's the goal of this brainstorming, is to come up with ideas that we could put together so we could have something to propose to roll out so we can go out and get feedback. The concept that we kind of it seemed like we all agreed on, and that I'm going to have to kind of land us on, is that the concept is we're trying to create some kind of bridge between Faith students and quality local businesses. So whatever that looks like, and that's where the brainstorm is going to take us. And then there were a bunch of value added statements with this. Our testimony will be increased, right? If we do this right. It does create income for students. It does help students create a network, and the college create a network with these local businesses. It does help build experience for students, depending on what kind of job it is. Is it something that's going to be kind of career forward, kind of help them move their career forward. And it does create relationships. So those were kind of the consensus things that we came up with were values. There might be some others too we could throw in there. So I think Katie sent me a note last night or this morning. I don't know. I was up early this morning reading it, but I think I want you to share your half of it. I think we're going to do a 2-phase feedback. It doesn't fit perfectly into what Carlos and Jeff taught us, but I think it fits into what's going to happen here on this campus in 2 weeks. So what I'd like to do is phase 1, I'd like to come up with a concept and get feedback from people that are part of our campus. So students, faculty and staff, whatever. Bring that back in here. And then, basically, how it said, learn fast, fail fast, test fast, whatever, test fast, fail fast, and then redo it. We'll take that feedback. We'll come up with kind of version, 1.1 of our concept. And then Katie, what were you saying? I think I'll let you share it, but coming up, there's a good opportunity for feedback.
So we have scholarship weekend next week. We have a lot of potential students and families coming here. So if we were able to present it to them somehow and get their feedback, since they're one of the stakeholders, you have the parents and the potential students, which we don't really ever get to communicate with, that could be a big selling point for both the school, and it would also help us on our project.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea. And really what we could do is, if we've already kind of run through the first filter of students, faculty, staff, whoever we can talk to around here in a short period of time, we can hopefully have a slightly more refined minimum viable product that we could go to the other stakeholders, the parents, the potential students. And then I could communicate with Nikki and Noah Kephart to see about how could we interact. Would it be something where we could do literally a printed survey? We could do some kind of online thing. We could email them. Maybe we could interview a few of them. So I'm not sure what that part will look like. It really, because it's kind of out of my jurisdiction, I can't promise what that will look like. But I know that they'll let us interact somehow, even if it's in writing. I could give them a little survey when they first get here or something like that. So with that in mind, we need to brainstorm things that are going to go into this concept. And so everyone is going to give something. If you want to think through it, it could be based on maybe a direction you were going with your question. Because sometimes when you write a question, it kind of is, it's leading towards something, and that's why you asked it. So, yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer to come up and be the first to throw their idea on the board, the nice thing is then no one steals your idea. Anyone? Yeah, here you go. You have good. And give us write it up there, and then give us just a real short version of why you're saying that.
I don't know, we could somehow, want me to write all of them or just?
Just yours. Sorry, I wasn't
No,
clear.
that's fine. Somehow, I don't know if they would let us take over job fair or somehow be involved in that with inviting the companies that we've screened to come here maybe, or somehow be involved with that.
Yeah, I think the job fair currently goes through student life, I think, right? Yeah, and it was, COVID kind of messed it up a little bit this year, but I think it was put in chapel announcements on Friday, and it started on Monday or Tuesday. So I hardly had time to talk to anyone. I happened to be going by Duluth to return something or whatever, and I talked to the GM over there, and she's like, "We love faith students. Tanner was the best, advertisement for faith. So we've hired a bunch of faith people over the years." I said, "Well, I just found out we have a job fair in a couple of days." And they're like, "Oh, we can't get someone there in that short period of time." So it's probably because we have these ones that are just kind of easy. Chick-fil-A is always going to hire some faith students every year and stuff. They probably haven't had to put much work into it, but with a different reason for doing it, maybe job fair might be a natural thing that we could add into this. And I would imagine other departments like student life would be happy to give up something that's outside their normal, they're not, that's kind of like their side gig is taking care of students with their jobs, so. Yeah.
On that, you could always, you could do like a 2-part job fair. So like first you can have something like when students first come in, like you go through the different checkpoints when you check into school. You can have the job office be one of them so that like it at least gets us in front of them, and then we can make the job fair sooner in the semester instead of like, what is it, 2 or 3 weeks after school starts when everybody already has a job. So then you can get those employers in front of them sooner and actually help them out more instead of halfway through the semester when they're only here for like a month and a half.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like most people have jobs by the time job fair comes around.
Yeah.
Like that's only for like the stragglers who didn't land a job or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even off of that, what if there was like a second job fair, like in the second semester that was more specific for people, like for students that were graduating or just gonna be sticking around for a while, so that it was more like permanent jobs, not just like, mhm. So not just like, oh, you're gonna go be like a team member at Chick-fil-A or like
Mhm.
a Hy-Vee, but like an actual like specific careers like that you could get students plugged into. Or at least get them connected to people that they can start those relationships while they're in college and have something kind of lined up for when they graduate.
Yeah,
Also
excellent.
get internships in there as well for like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are a bunch of other programs that have internship requirements. And sometimes it's hard for them to find, they put it back on the students to find it. And then I've heard that sometimes students, if they don't have a network of people outside the campus, they don't have a car. Now they're doing their internship on campus, for a whole semester or something like that. And that's that's not the ideal situation. Obviously, sometimes there's no way to help it, but. All right. Wow, you were a loud writer.
I think that getting involved and getting face to face with the business owners, I think is a huge, huge part of it. I know for me, when I was in the hiring process at Range Masters, I didn't really have the job till I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with them. I was just another applicant. So I think being able to get into the businesses, put a face to a name and shake somebody's hand and say, hey, I'm genuinely interested in an apprenticeship with your business. I want to get a job here. I'm thinking about possibly a career here. Just be able to interact. I mean, it can just blow your LinkedIn profile, your resume can get you so far. But actually sitting down and having a conversation with the managers and saying, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I offer, and to be able to have those verbal discussions and be able to ask questions as a class and be able to learn. I think field trips, as far as building that relationship, all these bright genius minds, the business owners are interacting with, and they're like, wow, these are some quality people that I would be willing to hire. So I think field trips are.
Yeah, we're going to be doing hopefully a number of those second semester, but I think it's a good point.
Well, because of COVID too, it's so much harder right now.
With last year when we did the one at Christian Brothers Auto, I guarantee if Kurt Grieving was hiring someone that, if a FACE student applied to work there and they were qualified for whatever they're applying for, they would definitely get a little bit of a positive, they'd have a positive bias over there towards FACE students because we spent a whole evening over there and we got to walk around and we got to talk and, and since then some people have stayed in touch and, created relationship opportunities over there. So, yeah. Who else?
I have a question. How far are we wanting or willing to go when it comes to helping somebody out with this? So if we have a student who's looking for an internship, are we wanting to put them in touch with somebody, or are we wanting to just make them aware of the opportunity that would best suit them? Or are we wanting to walk them all the way to the finish line to where they have the job, they have the internship, they're settled in it?
That's a good question. I think I would, and you guys can all chime in on this. I think I would look at an internship different than the job, different than the career. So if we're talking about three distinct things. Internship, I think it would be good if I held someone's hand all the way until it was secured. Because internship also implies there's like, whoever you're interning with, they owe something back to the college, like some kind of reporting, something like that. So that's the expectation, is that who you're interning under, they also have to kind of give a little bit of final feedback. And so there's got to be like this little bit of relationship besides just the student going. So internship, I would look at different. The job, honestly, I don't know if it would be the responsibility to totally like seal the deal. On the other hand, for accountability and tracking, just like Ken Blanchard says, if you don't measure something, you don't know if you've been successful at it. So some kind of, did you get the job? You do some kind of exit interview or something, so we know, especially if we're doing some kind of application process where we're tracking students' information, then we kind of know where they're at in it. Like we know if a student came in for workshop 1, 2, 3, they did their interview, they applied at this place, and now they're working there, we could track that. So if they come back a year later and they say, hey, I'd like to get a job, and you're like, oh, I thought you were working at this place, we could keep a record. So even if we're not holding their hand through it, I think we would at least want to know where they're at in the process. Career-wise, it might be, something that's like in between those two. I'm not sure.
So some type of record keeping is going to need to happen along with probably some checkups, maybe.
Mm-hmm. You'll make that your idea? Or
Yeah.
You have another brilliant idea on top of that.
Oh, I'm sure there's more.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
So along with that, I think we should, I don't know if this goes for internships or jobs, maybe both, but I think you definitely need to have some work on the part of the person that's looking for it, because if we do, or the job office or whatever, whoever it is, does all the work, then I don't know how committed that person is going to be to the job, especially if it's a job, not necessarily an internship.
Right.
We want them to be fully committed and work hard at it. So if they're working hard to get into that spot, then they're probably going to work hard in it.
Right.
But if we just do everything, then it's like handed to them. And
Yeah.
they might not try.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yeah.
What if there's a way to do like kind of maybe a couple, like 2 to 4 like workshops, maybe either one semester or like spread out over both semesters, so that like students that aren't in this program could have tools to be able to learn how to make relationships or like.
Don't write that on the
establish
board.
connections.
Is that your idea?
Yeah, that's right.
If not, someone else is gonna get up there and write.
No idea.
So what kind of workshops you thinking?
So kind of like, hang on, I can't write and talk at the same time.
So you should have just
So what kind of workshops you thinking?
So this kind of came off of one of my questions that I had come up with on the sticky note thing, but like, so I know like for students, like we had the question, like, how can we build connections and, establish good workplace relationships? But I feel like it's easy to just assume that everybody knows how to like make relationships in the
Mhm.
workplace and establish that beyond just like you go into work and you clock in and then you clock out at the end of the day. So what if there were different workshops that kind of talked about how to implement, like, it could be as simple as like how to just be a good testimony at work, but also just like how to actually make good relationships with like your management and, like your shift leaders or
Mhm.
whatever. And it could be like, I don't know, like 20, 30 like dollar workshops or whatever, because I feel like that would be a little more accessible than just adding extra classes. Cause I
Yeah.
feel like students probably wouldn't pay extra, like that much extra for like a whole class, but they
Right.
might for like a shorter workshop.
And if you made it, when I was a pastor, when we would do like, if we did a Sunday school class and the theme was finances, you'd have a inconsistent turnout. But if we did Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University and everyone paid $100 and they got a workbook and they're registered on the website forever and have access to all the online material, we had like almost perfect attendance every single time, unless someone was sick or their work would not release them. They would, because they had bought in a little bit. And so obviously we wouldn't maybe charge like that, but yeah, let's say you did a workshop that involved coffee, donuts, some kind of handout, some kind of certificate or badge, and it costs them $20, or $30. Pre-register so we know how many people to plan for, and maybe incorporate in, someone else had the idea the other day about getting people that have already been through it to help do the talking.
Well, and even with that, you could bring in people from, like, kind of how you bring in people here
Yeah.
to talk to us about their businesses. You could bring in different managers and stuff and help, like, kind of have them talk about what stands out to them and how they build relationships with their
Absolutely.
employees and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If you did something like that, then you could also include maybe a type of badge, like figurative badge to add onto it so that it could add something to your resume,
Absolutely.
like, hey, I went to this workshop.
Yeah. The digital badges they don't cost us anything. And it's something that, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you see I have like 4 digital badges on there. That it's what I'm doing for you guys' internship requirements and stuff. But it's just an easy way to record. So I gave Max the printout copy of the certificate there. It used to be everyone just collected tons of certificates, and then you made photocopies of that when you go apply somewhere. Hey, I did this, I did this. Employers don't want to see a whole stack of papers anymore. They don't want an email that has 10 PDF attachments. But if they go to your LinkedIn or your resume and they see that you went the extra mile and you did these workshops, or if we're the go-between, if we're the bridge and we say, hey, we're sending you a couple of applicants and all these applicants have completed these things, we might be able to kind of, what it might result in is applicant coming in at a little higher level possibly, or a little higher level of trust at least. Yeah, great. I like that. I think it's also something that the college needs to do to enhance its value. Like, there are classes for credit, and you get grades, but then there's all this other opportunity to train and mentor people. It's just a little outside the box for a typical college to think about, but it's not a grade. And we have to kind of think beyond just the classroom environment, but also so what is actual education? It's giving people good stuff to learn. It's going to help them with their real life. So great. All right. Who else?
It's a concept you better start walking on, boy. So this is getting off topic from where we've been at. And don't be
It sounds like a
judging.
disclaimer or an apology. I'm not sure.
Don't be judging, because this idea is
Oh my
no
goodness.
good.
Be secure.
Bad.
This is a safe space. You're in your safe
I'm
place.
sorry in advance.
You literally just did every one of those points.
But like, what if we had a program that was
Wow.
like optional?
Mhm.
Like you didn't have to do it, but it's like 4 or 5 people. And then there's like 4 or 5 businesses, and each one you do a couple months there.
Mhm.
And then it's like a short internship or paid internship, whatever that looks like.
So almost like a rotating job opportunity.
Yeah,
where
so you all do the same job, just at different times, and then that way the businesses have somebody for the entire year. But the students also get a variety of experience.
I'm gonna write that up here for you. This is officially your idea.
It's a good concept.
So I have a friend who was a colonel in the Air Force. He was a bomber pilot, and then became transport pilot, and then he became a base commander. And the base commander, the Air Force War College, sent him to Harvard to train on leadership. And this Harvard program put him basically in a bus with a CEO of a company and an attorney and a CPA and someone that had another business, basically a group of leaders. And they actually went to different companies, a little bit more the field trip idea, but I could see how you could do, like, if you were able to get people immersed in different kinds of work, it would expand their experience. And there's probably a benefit to the employer too. Okay, all right. Other ideas?
You gotta go.
Sprint.
Kind of goes like under workshops. But like,
Yeah, I don't mind if your idea is just adding on to someone else's idea.
Just put Katie's stamp of approval.
Uh-oh, what did you do?
Ran out of ink.
Hold on. Come on. There we go. There we go.
an eraser?
That's the eraser, and then, there you go.
Thanks.
Sometimes it just gets
Okay.
weird, okay?
I was thinking about like, because you know how in the beginning of the semester you have like the English like workshops that you can go to figure out how to write a paper, and then you have the right spot you can go to like throughout. the
Like what
semester.
Mrs. Cole does?
Right, right. So those workshops that we would give for the businesses, whatever, I think are good. That's a good idea to get the badges and everything. But some students like don't always think they need, okay, I don't need that whole workshop, but like I need help with my resume, or I need help with like interview skills. So if we offer that like maybe like once a week, like on a Saturday from like 3 to 5, you can come in if you need help, or you can like email somebody if you need help. They should have that opportunity to tutor. Because like the reason I'm saying this is because like I was talking to my sister who's coming here next year, and she's, you know, freaking out. Like I haven't had a job. I don't know how to make a resume. I don't know how to make those connections. We have a lot of students like that. Or we think back to our freshman years, like I don't know how to get a job in this new place. So if we just offer that opportunity to help them, like, okay, you have this kind of experience, we can help you make your resume, get you started.
Yeah.
Just have the opportunity to be that
Yeah.
for students.
I like that. I think it also gives opportunity for you guys to have some leadership roles in the lives of incoming students, which is just one more good thing on your resume, but it just gives you some real world, like you're actually mentoring someone, which mentoring is a valuable, you know, skill and opportunity that a lot of people just never access because maybe the personality isn't given towards that. But if you had people that need help and you're able to help, I'm sure any one of you would do it.
I wonder if we could do it almost like the right spot, but for,
The job spot,
yeah. Because that sounds kind of like,
the wrong spot. Oh, it's brainstorming, don't judge it. Yeah.
it kind of sounds like, you know,
Well, no, but seriously, what if you had, you know, you have a location and a time, and the way the right spot gets a lot of their students are either teachers refer them over or remedial, like they have to go or they're gonna be in trouble. Or it's just announced a lot for that short period of time when it first starts up, they announce it a lot. And so we could kind of have the same relationship. You know, we could have anyone from student life to, you know, teachers identify, hey, this student, I know they're looking for work, whatever, that you need to go meet with them. And I think timing's really critical. A couple of you mentioned about like when in the year do we do it? We could do it seasonally, you know, where it's a consistent thing, and then you could do by appointment also, you know, as needs come up. Sometimes people don't know if they're going to get a job or not for a while until they kind of get settled in, or a job falls through or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Time for one or
Yeah,
two more.
I know. I know you're OCD, so I was going to anyways.
Yeah, totering. That was one.
There we go.
That's not me judging. I was just asking. It's an honest question. We're creating our own new terminology. We would like to toter you. It's the totering spot.
We've been talking about this anyways. It kind of goes along with this concept up there, so maybe it's like a third idea of the same idea or concept. But I do think that tutoring or job options would be a really good idea just because of the mentorship that, like, I don't know, seniors or juniors, or whatever, those who have been through classes, been through several years of college, been through several years of maybe jobs and stuff like that, would be able to walk people through, because freshmen coming in, I mean, I honestly think back to when I was freshman, I knew nothing, like I was just completely ignorant. So it's something that could help them with that. And then even as we discussed before, I think I just feel this way. There's no facts out there to prove it, but it seems like it would look better to a business when, hey, I'm, you know, Katie Brown from the jobs office here at Fairfax Bible College. We try to pair qualified candidates with great businesses where they would be a benefit to the business. You know, I see you have this job open and I've got this great candidate. And then they kind of set up like the softball almost pretty much like, they've got this badge, they've been through these classes, they've proven themselves in this way or whatever. I think they would fit your role very well, given their personality. So I think whoever would do it, whether it would be like only one person in the job office running full time or several people, it'd be good for them to interview, get to know the candidate, get to know the student. And then that way they know them and then they can present that to the business. And so I just feel like because you got to come from the business side, because I know some of our ideas were just like I think Joe brought up, like not all FACE students are A+ students. I think some of our ideas are assuming that, oh, businesses want us, they want us. Some businesses are not, most businesses are not hurting any. So you got to give them a reason to want you. You got to find their benefit and make them actually want you, instead of being like, we got great people, you should hire us,
Right.
show the benefit to them, because that's
So creating an edge that, I mean, we use the word value a lot, but really to businesses, time and energy. I mean, every time they interview someone, every time they go through that process, it costs them something. If they hire someone that's not a good fit, it costs them. So if we can literally relieve some of that pressure, now we're their best friends. I mean, we're truly helping them. But I think you guys have brought up a couple times, and I don't want it to fall on deaf ears. Like, we can't assume every FACE student is going to be a great fit for every job. We would hope that, the high majority of FACE students would be a good fit for some job. There could be a few FACE students that might not be a good fit for any job off campus. I mean, and it could be for a lot of reasons. Let's say it's not because they're strange. Let's say it's because they're from a different culture and they're not ready to go out and work, in that environment. They're a missionary kid and they've never worked in a secular environment, or, whatever it is. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a negative as far as like against their character or their personality. There might be a few of those though too, that they're okay to be a college student, but they might not be a good representation of faith to the community. So what we would do is maybe direct them towards on-campus work, where we have a lot more room to kind of forgive, someone's idiosyncrasies. So,
And
yeah.
kind of with that, I guess kind of like a sub point I was thinking is like the website idea. I obviously don't think we should be fully dependent on a website completely, because there's just something that human relations brings into the idea that's super helpful. But if you did have like a website where businesses are posting their jobs and students are posting in their resumes, and then we can kind of filter through it. I don't know if that would help or make it worse. But
Well, you might be able to take a number of the things that we've been talking about and create at least a landing page, so that if that employer is like, what's the jobs office all about? They see a link at the bottom of the email that takes them to one page that explains the different workshops, that gives them, hey, we say that they've been through the job application workshop. And what in the world is that? Well, they can read, oh, they did 4 hours of training on this, whatever. So.
And like, I like what he said too about the recording thing. If you could add in something to it that makes you even more qualified, the job's office even more qualified. If we do find, obviously it would take a while to build results, but if we do find, hey, every 4 out of 5 people refer to business is the business is accepting them and they're moving on, so when the next businesses come on, they see we have like an 80%, retention rate or something like that. It just looks good for the connections.
And that's how businesses measure their own success. So did you have something else on that? It's like you were like this and you're like,
I was like, but like if you had the jobs office like somewhere where like the students could actually go, then that would give them also, like if they met one-on-one, got that mentorship, that would give them a reference, because like the references they have for like their high school jobs, like past jobs,
Right.
whatever, doesn't show that they're like as invested as they are now. If they're coming for mentorship, if they're going to the workshops, that would give them.
oh yeah. So like a jobs counselor
Yeah.
or jobs mentor now is one of the references at the bottom of their application. Says references available upon request. One of them could be the person that just mentored them, the person that, led the jobs application workshop. So now they have a recent, closer to home. It's not their uncle who owns the landscaping company they worked for 4 years ago, when they were 15. Now it's like someone they just finished with. Yeah.
Having those workshops and like job counselor or whatever, if an employer saw that the student was like actually trying to grow and like grow their skills and get better at it and actually trying to invest themselves in the job, that would be like make them more hireable. Like, okay, it's not just somebody who wants to make money, it's somebody who actually wants to grow and like learn and move forward career wise. I think that would be a good testimony for the
Absolutely.
student and the school as well.
Okay, this is just getting better and better. So we're gonna have to stop. It's time to stop. But if you didn't give an idea yet, you're at the top of the list Friday, okay? So what this is all we're gonna work on Friday and try and finish the brainstorming Friday. And then by Monday, have the first feedback tool, you know, and what I might do is take the brainstorming and I might just create the feedback tool so that we don't have a whole brainstorming session about what questions to ask and feedback. I think I might help streamline the process if I was to create the tool over the weekend and then Monday you guys had something in hand and we kind of talk about how to implement it Monday in class and then give you a couple days to go out and get information from people on the campus and then bring that feedback so that by Friday we could meet with students and parents somehow. So that's tentatively how I think this is going to work out. You know, we can be flexible, but I think that's what's going to happen. So, all righty. Okay, see you guys later. Thank you.